Your eyes capture about 10 million bits of information per second, but your consciousness processes only 40. This radical difference between what exists and what you perceive reveals something fundamental. Reality is not fixed. It is selective. For years, you may have believed that changing life requires strength, strategy, or a complete external revolution. But quantum physics and neuroscience converge on a surprising discovery. The observer alters what is observed, not through vague mysticism, but by a precise mechanism of how attention sculpts experience. Think about the last problem that consumed your energy. The more you fought against it, the more persistent it became. This happens because resistance and obsession work like magnifying lenses. They amplify exactly what you wish would dissolve. Reality operates like a responsive field. It does not respond to what you want, but to what you sustain with your attention. Every repeated thought, every cultivated emotion, every focus pattern creates a specific frequency that magnetizes corresponding experiences. This is not a consoling philosophy. It is a practical map to navigate existence more efficiently. Because the moment you understand that to observe is to participate, that to perceive is to create, life as a whole becomes malleable under a completely new perspective. The secret is not in controlling external facts, but in mastering the art of observing with renewed intentionality. Your mind works like a quantum projector. Each dominant thought creates a specific movie on the screen of experience. The problem is that you have spent so much time watching the same movie that you forgot to check which tape was running in the projector. Consider this fascinating neurological discovery. The brain does not distinguish between lived experiences and intensely imagined ones. Both create the same neural connections, release the same neurotransmitters, and generate the same emotional responses. This means that you may be living a reality based on old mental movies while believing you are reacting to the present. The focus of attention operates like a vibrational magnet. Everything that consistently receives your mental energy expands into physical experience. Not because the universe is magical, but because the brain has a filtering system called the reticular activating system. This system determines which information reaches your consciousness and which remains invisible. Think of a person who decides to buy a specific red car. Suddenly, they start noticing that model everywhere. The cars were always there, but their attention now makes them visible. The same principle governs all experiences. What you feed with repeated focus becomes the predominant texture of your reality. There is a crucial difference between conscious attention and automatic attention. Automatic attention is hijacked by unconscious patterns, fears, traumas, limiting beliefs, and mental habits. It works like an autopilot that keeps you stuck in the same scripts. Conscious attention, on the other hand, is intentionally directed to create new possibilities. The human drama happens because people direct 90% of their attention to what they do not want. They constantly talk about problems, mentally revisit painful situations, and anticipate catastrophic scenarios. This negative attention not only keeps problems alive, but also feeds them with vital energy. Attention is the only truly scarce resource you possess. Unlike money or time, it cannot be stored or borrowed. It exists only in the present moment, and you are constantly deciding where to invest it. Each choice of focus is a vote for the type of reality you want to experience. Observe your internal dialogue throughout an entire day. Notice how many times you relive old conversations, worry about uncertain futures, or analyze problems without seeking solutions. Each of these moments is creative energy being directed to maintain structures that you consciously wish to transform. Reality responds to the emotional frequency you maintain, not to your declared intentions. You may claim you want prosperity, but if you spend daily hours focusing on scarcity and limitations, your predominant vibration magnetizes more lack. The universe does not listen to your words. It responds to your constant energetic emanation. What you observe with genuine curiosity and acceptance transforms naturally. What you observe with resistance and judgment crystallizes and becomes more rigid. The difference lies in the quality of attention, not the quantity. Begin to perceive your thoughts as seeds you plant in the field of experience. Each thought repeated 1,000 times becomes a leafy tree in the landscape of your life. Do you want to harvest different fruits, plant different seeds? Change always begins in the quality of internal observation. The reality you experience tomorrow is being created by the nature of your attention today. This is not an abstract philosophical concept, but a practical technology of transformation that operates continuously, with or without your awareness. This technology of transformation operates through an even deeper discovery. Your external reality is always an accurate reflection of your internal state of consciousness, not of your superficial intentions or desires, but of the vibration you sustain at the core of your being. Think of the internal state as a radio station that transmits continuously. Each emotion, each belief, each energetic pattern you cultivate emits a specific frequency. The world around you works like an ultra-sensitive receiver that picks up this transmission and responds by creating experiences that perfectly match the signal sent. Fear, for example, vibrates at a frequency that attracts confirming situations of danger. Not because the universe is malevolent, but because fear alters your perception, your choices, and your actions in ways that inevitably create what you fear. A person in chronic anxiety makes defensive decisions, interprets neutral situations as threats, and unconsciously sabotages opportunities that could generate security. Doubt operates similarly. It creates a vibration of uncertainty that magnetizes ambiguous experiences and inconclusive results. People who constantly doubt themselves encounter situations that confirm their incompetence, not because they are incompetent, but because doubt prevents them from acting with determination and clarity. On the other hand, states of clarity and acceptance generate a completely different frequency. Clarity attracts precise information, suitable people, and aligned opportunities. Acceptance dissolves the internal resistance that keeps problems crystallized, allowing natural solutions to emerge spontaneously. This dynamic is not mystical or esoteric. It is applied neurology. Each emotional state activates different brain regions, releases specific neurotransmitters, and directly influences your perception, memory, and decision-making ability. A person in a state of gratitude, for example, has greater activity in the prefrontal cortex, the region responsible for creativity and problem-solving. The internal state also determines which aspects of reality become visible to you. In a state of scarcity, you notice only limitations and obstacles. In a state of abundance, you perceive resources and possibilities that were always present, but beyond the reach of your previous attention. Each recurring emotional pattern creates a specific magnetic field around your presence. Depressed people attract depressing situations, not by coincidence, but because their internal vibration resonates with circumstances that confirm their somber perspective. Enthusiastic people attract exciting possibilities because their internal state makes them receptive to opportunities that others cannot even perceive. The most fascinating thing is that you can verify this instantly. Change your internal state consciously and observe how the world around you begins to respond differently. Cultivate genuine curiosity about a situation you once judged impossible and notice how new information starts to appear. Practice radical acceptance about something you resisted and observe how the tension dissolves naturally. Your internal vibration works like a magnet that not only attracts external experiences, but also activates different aspects of your own personality. In a state of confidence, you access abilities that remain dormant during periods of insecurity. In a state of love, you manifest a version of yourself that is genuinely different from the version that emerges during states of anger or resentment. External reality, therefore, is neither fixed nor independent. It is a responsive system that constantly reorganizes itself to reflect the internal frequency you sustain. Changing experience does not require external force, but a conscious transformation of the internal state you cultivate, moment by moment. This understanding completely transforms the approach to solving any problem. Instead of trying to control external circumstances, you learn to intentionally calibrate your internal state to magnetize the desired solutions. This internal calibration, however, encounters a gigantic obstacle in the way we were conditioned to approach change. Since childhood, We have learned that transforming something requires physical effort, directed struggle, and persistence against resistance. This programming works perfectly to move objects or build structures, but it becomes counterproductive when applied to consciousness-based reality. Cultural conditioning teaches us that more effort generates better results. We work longer hours to earn more money, force relationships that do not flow naturally, insist on strategies that have already proven ineffective. This brute force approach creates a vicious cycle. The more you push against something, the more resistance you encounter. Observe a person trying to force sleep during insomnia. Each attempt to control falling asleep drives natural sleep further away. They struggle mentally, count sheep, compulsively change positions, and each action intensifies the state of wakefulness. Sleep only comes when they stop fighting insomnia and allow relaxation to happen spontaneously. The same pattern repeats in all areas of human experience. People who force love in relationships end up pushing their partners away. Those who obsessively chase financial success often sabotage their own opportunities by acting out of desperation instead of strategic clarity. Internal resistance operates in an even more subtle and destructive way. Every time you fight against a present situation, you create emotional tension that keeps that situation energetically active. It is like trying to put out a fire by throwing gasoline. Resistance feeds exactly what you want to eliminate. Unconscious beliefs work like hidden programs that sabotage conscious attempts at change. You may verbally state that you want prosperity, but if you carry deep beliefs about not deserving abundance or about money being something dirty, these unconscious beliefs will create self-sabotaging behaviors that keep scarcity alive. The brain interprets excessive effort as a sign of danger. During states of tension and struggle, the nervous system activates survival responses that reduce creativity, intuition, and the ability to perceive solutions. Ironically, the effort to solve problems can diminish your natural capacity to find resolutions. Familiar patterns, even painful ones, generate an illusory sense of safety for the nervous system. Change requires leaving the neurological comfort zone, which activates unconscious alarms. This is why people often return to toxic relationships, unsatisfying jobs, or destructive habits. The known, even when limiting, feels safer than the unknown. The conscious mind represents only 5% of total brain activity. The other 95% operates automatically through unconscious patterns established during the first years of life. Trying to change using only conscious willpower is like trying to drive a 2-ton car by pushing, while 95% of the force is pulling in the opposite direction. The fundamental mistake lies in believing that you need to convince reality to change through external proof. In fact, reality only transforms in a lasting way through a change in the internal frequency you consistently emit. Forcing external changes without altering the internal state is like rearranging furniture in a house whose foundations remain unstable. True transformation happens through a paradox. You need to stop trying to control in order to gain real influence over your experience. This insight may seem counterintuitive, but it is precisely this shift in approach that allows natural solutions to emerge. If you recognized your own resistance patterns in this description, leave a "I recognize" in the comments and briefly share which area of your life you've been trying to force instead of allowing to flow naturally. This awareness is the first step toward a completely new approach. This completely new approach begins with a radical change in the quality of the questions you ask yourself. Instead of, "How can I force this situation to change?" the transformative question becomes, "What different perspective can naturally dissolve this pattern?" The mind works like a sophisticated search system. Every question you formulate directs your neurology to find specific evidence. Limiting questions such as, "Why does this always happen to me?" program your brain to find confirmations of victimization. Expansive questions such as, "What hidden opportunity could this situation reveal?" redirect your attention to previously invisible possibilities. Consider this discovery about selective perception. You may be in a room with 100 different elements, but your consciousness only registers those that correspond to your active mental filter. A person concerned about safety will automatically notice potential dangers. A person in search of beauty will perceive aesthetic details that others completely ignore. Your perceptual filters were programmed over years by unconscious repetitions. Each time you think it never works out for me, you strengthen a filter that looks for evidence of failure and ignores signs of possibility. Each time you declare people are selfish, you activate a filter that highlights selfish behaviors and makes gestures of generosity invisible. The shift in observational frequency is like tuning into a new radio station. At first, you catch only fragments of the new programming mixed with static from old stations. With consistent practice, the new frequency becomes clearer while the old ones naturally fade. There is a powerful neuroscientific technique to reprogram perceptual filters, asking specific questions that force the brain to search for evidence contrary to limiting patterns. If you believe that opportunities are rare, start asking daily, what opportunities are available to me right now? This question activates different neural circuits and gradually expands your ability to perceive possibilities. The brain has a fascinating feature called neuroplasticity. It can create new connections and strengthen neural pathways through conscious repetition. Each time you intentionally choose to focus on solutions instead of problems, you are literally building neural highways that make this perspective more automatic. Limiting beliefs function like invisible filters that distort the interpretation of neutral events. A person who believes, "I am not worthy of love," will interpret gestures of affection as pity or manipulation. A person who believes money corrupts will unconsciously sabotage financial opportunities. Changing beliefs does not require intellectual convincing, but repeated exposure to contrary experiential evidence. Reality simultaneously contains evidence for any perspective you choose to adopt. There is enough data to prove that the world is dangerous and enough data to prove that it is safe. Abundant evidence of scarcity coexists with abundant evidence of prosperity. Your task is not to find the objective truth, but to consciously choose which set of evidence you want your neurology to prioritize. Focus on intentionally calibrating your perceptual filters through directed questions. What positive aspects of this situation have I not yet noticed? How might this experience be preparing me for something better? What inner resources can I activate right now? Each question is a command for your nervous system to seek specific information. Transformation happens naturally through this change in observational frequency. You do not need to force solutions to appear. You only need to create the internal conditions for them to become visible. It is like adjusting the focus of a lens. The clear image was always there, but it only becomes sharp through proper alignment. Begin to realize that every moment offers multiple possible interpretations. The version you choose determines not only how you feel, but also which next steps become available and which opportunities naturally emerge in your field of experience. This new capacity for expanded perception needs to be developed through specific practices that gradually recalibrate your automatic mental filters. Like any skill, conscious observation strengthens through intentional repetition and directed attention. Start by paying attention to the synchronicities that naturally occur in your life. Synchronicities are meaningful coincidences that reveal hidden patterns operating beyond linear logic. A song that plays at the exact moment you think of someone, a book that falls from the shelf open to the page that contains exactly the information you needed. These experiences are not magical, but indicators that your attention is aligning with subtler flows of information. Develop the habit of asking transformational questions instead of limiting statements. Replace "why doesn't this work?" with "what subtle adjustment could make this flow better?" Swap "this person irritates me" for "what aspects of this person can teach me something about myself?" Each question redirects your neurology to seek insights instead of confirmations of limitation. Practice detailed observation of the physical environment around you. For 5 minutes a day, choose a familiar space and notice 3 elements you had never perceived before. It could be the texture of a wall, the play of light on a surface, or the way different sounds combine. This exercise trains your brain to perceive layers of reality that usually remain invisible due to perceptual automation. Cultivate states of specific and detailed gratitude. Instead of generic gratitude, identify precise aspects for which you feel grateful. The way hot shower water relaxes your muscles, the fact that you have instant access to information that in other times would take weeks to find. the ability of your digestive system to transform food into energy without you having to consciously control this process. Observe your patterns of automatic judgment without trying to change them immediately. During conversations, notice how often you mentally categorize people, situations, or ideas as good or bad before fully understanding them. This neutral observation of your own mental processes creates space for more conscious choices. Develop the practice of taking intentional pauses before reacting to challenging situations. Between the stimulus and your automatic response, there is a space of choice. In that space, ask, what response would be most aligned with the result I truly desire? This conscious pause interrupts reactive patterns and allows more intelligent responses to emerge. Practice non-judgmental observation of your own internal states. Notice irritation, anxiety, or frustration as temporary phenomena that arise and dissolve naturally, rather than as fixed identities. I am feeling irritation is completely different from I am an irritable person. This subtle distinction frees you from the prison of temporary emotional states. Develop genuine curiosity about perspectives contrary to your established opinions. Choose a topic about which you have absolute certainties and seek intelligent arguments from the opposite point of view, not to change your opinion, but to expand your capacity to perceive multiple layers of complexity in any situation. Experiment with sensory-focused techniques to train presence. Choose one of your senses and dedicate a few minutes solely to that perceptual channel. Listen exclusively to sounds without mentally naming them. Observe visual textures without creating narratives about them. This practice interrupts constant mental dialogue and allows subtler information to reach your consciousness. Each of these exercises functions like a gym for your perceptual capacity. With consistent practice, you develop a mental agility that allows you to navigate between different perspectives consciously, choosing those that generate the results most aligned with your real goals. Transformation does not happen through effort, but through this gradual expansion of your capacity to perceive aspects of reality that previously remained beyond the reach of your conscious attention. This perceptual expansion reveals a liberating truth. Life does not need to be conquered, forced, or controlled in order to transform. It only needs to be observed with a more refined and intentional quality of attention. Each moment offers a fundamental choice between resisting what is happening or allowing natural solutions to emerge through your conscious observation. Resistance crystallizes problems. Acceptance dissolves them organically, creating space for possibilities the controlling mind could never conceive. Letting go of control does not mean passivity or resignation. It means recognizing that your true influence over reality operates through internal frequencies, not external manipulation. You become more powerful by consciously directing your attention than by trying to control circumstances that are beyond the reach of personal force. Reality responds to your internal vibration just as a musical instrument responds to the musician's touch. Each emotional state, each thought pattern, each quality of observation creates specific chords that manifest as corresponding experiences. From this moment on, you have the practical tools to navigate existence in a completely new way. Every challenging situation becomes an opportunity to calibrate your internal frequency. Every problem transforms into an invitation to expand your perceptual capacity. The choice is always available. You can continue fighting against reality or learn to dance with it through more conscious and refined observation. If you made it this far, write transformation in the comments so I know you fully absorbed this new perspective. If this content expanded your understanding of how reality truly works, subscribe to the channel to receive more practical insights on how to navigate life more efficiently and in alignment.